Marco, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and I mentioned, I think when I reached out, that I've been looking forward to speaking to you for a while.
Oh, that's cool.
So we've seen you come down to the city a few times, obviously with Ian.
Yeah.
And we've just started training with Sam Crook, obviously, in January as well.
Yep.
So we're kind of technically under you in the UK now.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So yeah, it's cool. And years ago, probably about 12 years ago, I actually popped up. I was traveling to London for some reason. I dropped in for a session.
Okay.
You almost certainly won't remember because it was one session and it was like a decade ago.
Okay.
but the welcome that I got from you and the team at that point was amazing. So it was always a good memory. So
amazing.
So yeah, it's good to talk to you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Obviously this year, just recently, you stepped back onto the competition mat for the first time in a while, competed at Polaris 30.
Yes.
Against Andy Roberts, right?
Andy Roberts, yeah. Old mat opponent.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How did it feel to get back on the competition mat?
Yeah, felt great. I actually competed like last year in Spain.
Okay.
It's like a small tournament. I had 2 fights. I got gold, but like before that, so I haven't been competing regularly like how I used to, but felt like it was back after a while this time. But I felt great, and I'm glad I did, because we always I had a very busy schedule before the competition, and I knew it, that I had to go to Rome, to Lisbon, and there was London Open before. So I had and then I had the Polaris after 3 weekends in a row of competition and traveling and coming back home late. Then not having much time to prepare as I wished, but I think that reason made me pull out and put the strength and push and make dedicate time to train, even away, and sometimes you have to do it, and I felt great to go back and compete.
Yeah, okay. And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
42.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 42. It's a good age. Strong age. How did you feel the match went on Polaris?
I felt him way stronger than the last time I competed against him. Definitely been working a lot on doing some weights, some strength training. I expected to have a bit more chance on top, but I think once I got one chance, I rushed a bit where I know I shouldn't. But maybe the lack of competing regularly probably made me kind of rush a bit. So, but felt great. I wanted to have more opportunities on top to maybe take the back after I passed, or maybe, something from side control. But like I said, I did a mistake, rushed a bit. He recovered guard, and then I never had a chance. So I was always trying to submit from guard, as wasn't feeling good, confident, not sure, but opportunities on top. So yeah, but I think it was good. It was good. I think I had good opportunities. Though I dominated the match, I believe. So the times I got swept, it was because I was trying to go back to a submission position from bottom. So yeah, I think it was good. Yeah.
The win, mate. So win.
Yeah. I was happy with the win.
Yeah, nice. And typically, what is your A game? Where do you normally look to get to get the victory if you can?
I used to like to pull guard a lot, to be honest. But I like to work on top nowadays. I have my positions I like to work on top. Take the back from top, passing guard, So I like to do both, to be honest. I don't mind, really. It's but I just think having a good guard, being confident in guard, if you accept the top, and I always believe I will pass and take the back, even though it's not always possible. But in case I get swept, I trust that I can sweep back, and then maybe even sometimes I believe there's 2 scenarios I like to say. For example, if we start and you pull guard on me, I believe you're gonna have a slight advantage than if I sweep you coming from a sweep and I straight away try and pass your guard and not let you establish control. Mm-hmm. So I believe I have there's a slight advantage in this 2 different scenarios, same scenario but 2 different scenarios. You pull guard and I accept you pulling guard, and I'm in your guard automatically in your setup. Mm-hmm. Or when I sweep and go on top, and with the grips I had from my sweep, I shut down your control, your guard. So I think this is really important. So I was trying that, to create this scenario, but he did really well and defended. So I think I don't mind really. And that's why if I go on top nowadays, if I get swept, I have maybe opportunity to sweep and then maybe go again on top. So I like to work both, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
I just don't, there's like some rule sets that I think like it's kind of waste go for takedown, you know, like spend energy and time when there's no points for takedowns, you know. So I think like sometimes pulling guard quick might be like just a way to start working. So I don't really mind. I like both. You got to be prepared for both anyway, you know.
And I guess a man of your experience in jiu-jitsu, you'd hope that you could probably adapt a little bit, right? So
yeah.
so that's good.
I have to.
Hey grapplers, we are now sponsored by X Marshall.
X Marshall have sent us some new quality British design rash guards. These are just the British designs, but they do loads and loads of really cool designs. You know, they got the OnlyFans ones, they got the Hillbilly ones, they got the Pornhub ones, they got all the
Yeah, Game of Chokes.
They got all that sort of stuff, which to be honest, you just don't see anywhere else.
Yeah, 100%. And they also specialize in not just no-gi, but also Muay Thai as well. So if you're cross-training and you want to pick up some Thai boxing shorts, then that's the place to go as well.
Genuinely really do like them. I think they feel really nice. That's what I like about them. They feel really nice. They got the band at the bottom, you know, and yeah, I've took them for a spin and they sweat up quite nicely.
And better yet, guys, we've managed to secure a really good discount for our audience. So if you use our link below, then you get an automatic 15% off of everything on their website.
Get that up, look, so they can see that shit.
And how about your prep? Obviously, I mentioned that we're a similar age, and I often complain about my injuries and my niggles, and you know, not to your standard. And I've been very kind of intermittent with my training, but I've been around the sport for about 20 years, and you know, I kind of am constantly trying to manage injuries in my body. So how does your prep for competition look now that at 42 versus maybe in your 30s and 20s? Any different?
Yeah, way different. I think like before I would train so much jiu-jitsu, just a lot, you know, like I never drilled much, to be honest. I think drilling is like, it's very important, I believe, but like it was something that I never did. And I would do specific training and sparring a lot, and no strength or like mobility at all, you know. I always thought that I had a wrong conception that like I was always very flexible, so I never needed mobility, which was very wrong. And now, like getting older, you start to understand.
You feel it, yeah.
So it's like, so it's very different. Like I believe this time I focus way more like training for Polaris. I focus way more in like strength and fixed my injuries and feeling good. And training, obviously doing jiu-jitsu, but less jiu-jitsu than strength, more like strength. And like I was running a bit, trying to do different things. I broke off my finger, kind of dislocated my finger really bad, like 3 weeks before. So I couldn't do much jiu-jitsu, like proper training for like 10 days. But yeah, it was a bit different, I think, because of the reasons, like of the injury and being away and traveling. But I think I would next time again, I would dedicate way more time in strength and conditioning, and yeah, but obviously training as well. I have great students to train with, great training partners, you know. So, and like I think like if I train with these guys, you know, I can be prepared to compete in my level. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like a bit of both. But before when I was young, I would just do jiu-jitsu a lot and train. And I think we pay the bill after, like we say in Brazil, you know, like you feel a lot, you know. So I learned a lot as well. Have a strength coach, like he does jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt as well.
Nice,
Omid, he helps me a lot. And so, yeah, I learned how important it is for sure.
Yeah, and I think I had someone say, it might have been the twins of Rotulos, I think, but they were saying that when you get to like a particular understanding of jiu-jitsu, when you sort of get a very high level black belt, you kind of almost like have so much knowledge and you can retain it, so you can almost dial back the jiu-jitsu training a little bit to facilitate
definitely,
obviously, strength and conditioning and mobility work. Do you find that?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah. And do you sort of dial up one or the other in the kind of run up to a competition? Like do you have a camp, or do you tend just these days to train all year round in that way?
it's hard for me. Like, I don't have, my coach is away all the time. He's in Portugal now. He was in Brazil, and now he's in Portugal for the past 4 or 5 years. So he's closer, but still like not here. And like, it was good because this time he came for the whole week before my fight, and he was there in my corner. So it's a bit different in this aspect because he trained me. I was a student again, but I never have this chance like preparing for competitions much. So I say my camp is more like the conditioning, the strength camp I would do. I will have like a routine that my coach would tell me to follow. And I will train with my students in the class or like on the sparring days, on the open mats. Because there are days that I don't like training in my class. You know, I like to give the focus to the students, you know, so I would train in open mat or sparring days where I could relax and just focus on me training, you know. So in Jiu-Jitsu, this is like my 2 strong days of training, a Sunday and a Wednesday where we do sparrings. And then I would do a bit of specific training with them. So I would say it's more like strength and conditioning for sure. To prevent injuries as well, you know. And yeah, so I train Jiu-Jitsu would be like 40%, I would say. Yeah, because again, I'm always, when I'm teaching, I'm spending so much time on the mat as well. That gives me a bit of confidence. I'm studying Jiu-Jitsu, I'm teaching Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm like, and when I'm teaching, I'm kind of drilling as well. And I teach kids, beginners, adults, gi, no gi. So I'm drilling a lot as well, sharpening a bit my techniques. And I realized like my game, obviously I had my game, but my game, I would do in competitions what I was teaching in classes, because it was like what was sharp and fresh, what I was doing a lot and repeating a lot. So I was actually my game was replying a bit of what I was teaching during the week. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's like, I would say half and half, 50, 60, 40.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And yeah, I guess with coaching, I mean, I've done a little bit, and I find that when I coach, you need to spend so much time just understanding the various components of the movement in order to relay that information to people learning. Yeah. You know, whereas when you're maybe just doing it yourself, you can almost rely on your body to just kind of move how it needs to. So I guess with the level of coaching that you do, yeah, I guess it must have a massive impact in regard to your understanding and everything else, despite even maybe not doing it that much all the time. So
yeah, sure.
That makes sense, man. And you obviously mentioned Polaris, and you said about certain rule sets where they don't kind of offer points for wrestling and takedowns, so you don't tend to waste energy there. I wanted to ask your thoughts on, I guess, the current kind of pro grappling scene, because obviously you've been competing for a very long time, and back in the day, you'd just have, you know, the IBJJF and, you know, that style of competition, whereas more and more now you're seeing no-gi, you're seeing different rule sets, obviously a lot more money coming into the sport.
That's great.
Which is good, yeah, of course. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the current, I guess, grappling sport movement that you're seeing at the moment?
Well, I think it's great, the evolution of like people, even like with not a lot of experience, I mean, like not much time in sport. Like, for example, in no-gi it's easier. Like if you're a good competitor, you can be fighting at black belt levels with 4 or 5 years, maybe, you know, you can be like very, very talented. And, you know, so this makes easier for people to see, like have a chance to compete and make money and earn. Like, I don't know, back like 10, 15 years ago, if people would even think this would be possible, you know. And you see like blue belts or purple belts already getting paid, or guys that qualify for ADCC that are having opportunities to like see that, okay, I can make this as a profession, you know. So I think this is amazing. And yeah, I think all the growth, like more different tournaments with different rule sets. Although I don't like a few of them. For example, that, you know, there's a few of them, but I believe every athlete should fight and try every single rule set, different like ADCC, submission only, IBJJF, all these different rule sets. But I think it's like we're in a great moment, and I think it's gonna just get better and grow more. And yeah, I think it's amazing where we are at the moment and how much our sport grew. I believe the no-gi helped a lot with the fact that it's a bit related with MMA. The no-gi a bit more like related to grappling, making easier for people to see, like, you know, I think that helped a lot. The development of the techniques as well, you know. So I think everything together, put together, and like the streaming, how many people now like are aware of Jiu-Jitsu because of friends. You know, before, like maybe 10 years ago, a lot of people you could talk about Jiu-Jitsu and not many people would know. But like now, I think everyone at least heard or have an idea. I think a lot due to MMA, to UFC, of course, and to pro grappling being more exposed and being, because it's paying more. The Jiu-Jitsu, the gig athletes are changing and moving to no-gi as well. And like being, I think it's more opportunities to get paid. So I think it's beautiful. It's amazing. Very happy to see and see. It's interesting to see how far we'll go in 10 years time, 5-10 years time, you know?
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge, isn't it? It's just going to keep going and going and going. Because I think the more people that try it, it's not the best sport to view, in my opinion, but it's really good to do. It's fun and the more people that try it, the more it's going to filter into more people watching it.
And I think how good we feel about it, you know, like how much it changed us after a while, after you get into it, you know, like I think this is the big part of Jiu-Jitsu, the beauty of Jiu-Jitsu, you know?
Yeah, it just keeps going, doesn't it? It's like, I'm obsessed. I'm only a couple of years in and I'm in that point when you're saying like getting on the mats. I want to get on the mats as much as possible. You know what I mean? I don't want to, I still do my weights and bits and pieces, but I need that technique, you know what I mean? I need to learn, and that's what I feel like.
You're hungry to learn every day.
Yeah, I get a bit pissed off with myself if I can't, you know, if I just, you know, I miss a class or something, or Sam will say like, oh, we've done this like yesterday, and I'm like, oh, I missed it. You know what I mean? And I do like get a bit like that. Yeah, you do, don't you? You feel like that. But you do though, don't you? You feel like that a little bit, you know? And it's, I think as adults, it's good because, you know, most of the time, most blokes are just, what they doing? Drinking beer and sat home. Yeah.
I think this is like this is one part of how Jiu-Jitsu changed people, because sometimes people come with different backgrounds or like with never done any sport before, or they have like maybe drinking habits or like different habits, and how after a while they start changing their habits to be able to perform better in training, not even to compete, but just in training, you know, to do better in training in general.
When I was playing football, I was a binge drinker. That's all I was. So I'd play football Saturday night, maybe even Friday, even before football. But on a Saturday night, we would drink every Saturday, hungover the next day. No, I couldn't even imagine doing that, because I know my hangover would still be there on Wednesday, you know. So my hangover would still be there. I can't do jiu-jitsu hungover. It'd be the worst thing in the world. That's one thing I have not done since I've started jiu-jitsu. I've not gone into that class like feeling,
You see, that's why I think it changed their habits.
I probably drink once a year now. Once a year. Wow. And it's not like, I wasn't big on drinking anyway. I think it was more just the social side of UK, what we do for football. I was never like big on drinking, but it completely changed my mindset and wanting not to drink. I was like, and I think as well, you're around a lot of people that are super dedicated to the sport. They don't drink.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, what did you do Saturday? It's like, we don't ever talk about, going out on the piss or doing any of that. It's like, oh, did you watch, I don't know, the
Crown or Who's Number One?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, yeah.
That's cool. And you see, for me, like what I love is seeing how people, when they join, the first time they join, we have their membership, the picture of their membership, and like how they look after maybe 6 months or a year, or like maybe even longer, you know, but how they change, how Jiu-Jitsu changed them. I think it's all related to be able to perform better and, you know, like feel good about it. And that's amazing for me.
It definitely helps you, doesn't it? Physically and mentally. You know, the physical side of it, how many people I know that started jiu-jitsu and then they've lost loads of weight, flexibility.
I think they should be related, physical and mental. They all related, right?
Yeah.
Feel good physically, you should feel good mentally as well, you know, and the opposite as well.
How many of my clients, when they're like overweight and they're not feeling great, especially men, I say to them like mate, you've got nothing like hobby-wise going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get into jiu-jitsu. And they're like, I'm too old. I'm like, you're never too old.
Never too old
to do jiu-jitsu.
There isn't a lot of sports that I can think of that you can get into, like you say, without having done any sports as a youngster, like as an adult. that are quite physically demanding, that offer, you know, a lot in the way of community and sort of skill acquisition and everything else.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, most sports for adults where you would go through that are kind of out of reach a little bit.
And they're boring. Like jiu-jitsu is fun. You know what I mean? Most sports, what are you going to go do? Play tennis or something? Golf? I'm like, oh man, like it's boring. I've tried a bit of golf. It is boring. Sorry to anyone who loves golf, but it is. It's boring. It's you're there all day. You're walking around. You're hitting a ball every 20 minutes. It just doesn't excite me. Whereas jiu-jitsu is so fun. And again, as you get better, it becomes more addictive.
You get more
because
addicted,
you think, like it's a Dunning-Kruger effect, isn't it? You think that, you know, after a while, you think, I know quite a lot now.
How far can I go as well?
Yeah. It is amazing.
Do you think there's anything else to it that why it captures like adults so much, or is it just the things that we've discussed? Do you think?
I think they said there is a study I think about that says like how good we feel about hugging each other. You know? You know. So
what was the point you made on like our first podcast? It sounded the gayest thing I've ever heard. But it was so funny.
I tried explaining that I think there's something in the physical contact around the oxytocin and stuff.
I read about it.
Yeah, but I just butchered the explanation and it sounded a little bit unintended.
Yeah, but we know what we mean. We not, you know, like it must be. It's true, you know, because and you see how it brings people together. You know, you look in the mat and you see like there's all kind of people there, you know, and they respect each other and they hang out with each other and they communicate with each other like they're all the same there, you know. And so this is like, it's very cool as well. And it must be one of the reasons behind the hugging, you know. People just feel happy and they train hard and, you know, like, and I think also they trust each other a lot, you know, during training, you know, like in your gym, people you get along with, you know. So I think this is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely removes social barriers for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And you will just get people hanging out that would never otherwise interact.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Joe Rogan might have talked about this once, but obviously letting someone hang off your neck to a point of near unconsciousness and trusting that they'll let go when you tap their arm.
Exactly.
You know, you do that enough times with people and you will build trust and really good connections with them, right?
Yeah, I think so. It reminds me of speaking to my brother-in-law about the Freemasons, and he was saying that everyone in the Freemasons all wear white gloves in their little dodgy handshake club, so that it gives like a social equality. So no one knows whether you're a carpenter or whether you're a doctor. Okay. Now, that reminded me of jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like where you can go in there, you know, no one cares if you're a doctor or a bin man, and it's great, isn't it?
Exactly.
I guess the only thing that adds a little bit of hierarchy is the belt system.
But that's earned though, isn't it? That's the same as that Freemason stuff. That's earned through your effort. Yeah.
But obviously you don't get that so much in Nogi. And I know a lot of people advocate for Nogi because it removes that. I mean, what's your opinions of the belt?
I think, it's that's the problem with the problem that guys have with Nogi, because some of them, they still want to feel like recognized and they're being promoted or they're improving, you know. I think this makes a bit difficult for them as in the start for a lot of people, you know. But yeah, belt system is very important, and I think it has to be, you know. Like unfortunately, there's a lot of people that use the no-gi system and they train with belt, you know, like same as they get a jiu-jitsu belt and they use it, you know. And yeah, I think it's how it's supposed to be, you know. I completely agree with it.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay. And just going back to the competitions, you mentioned there were a couple of rule sets that you weren't so keen on. I mean, what do you think like the best and worst rule sets are in regard to professional grappling?
Oh, I mean, I like ADCC rule set, you know, but I also think like you should be allowed to pull guard or go for takedown, you know, depend on your skills, you know. I just don't like when I've seen submission only shows with rules where submission counts, which is the goal, right? But I've seen like bad submission attempts counting more than positional dominance, which for me is like, I don't agree, you know. Like if I passed your guard 3 times, mounted you or took your back, you defended really well and you sat down for 2 ankle locks that was never like in threat, and then you win. Just because this is the rule, I don't agree much with that, you know. I don't like it. But I think every rule set is valid. Every rule set will make you a better, well-rounded athlete. You know, I think everyone needs to try. And you're obviously going to like a few more. And there are the ones that are there for years, like BJJF and ADCC. And then there is who's number one, you know, like. So you're always going to follow the rule set that you prefer, or the one that pay more, or the more prestigious ones. But I kind of like IBJJF, to be honest. And it's either submission or points, you know. And then obviously opens for stalling, you know, like for referee interpretation, you know, and judges, you know. But yeah, like in general, I would say for grappling, ADCC is the best one, I would say. You know, there's the CJI last year, obviously this year. It was great, kind of similar. So yeah, I just don't see the point where like, when it's, I would maybe like when it's like, okay, just submission only. And you rarely see submission in the first round, you know, like. So I don't think that makes them look more for submission. But I think it's the coolest and the most, one of the best tournaments you ever experience and you watch live. And the ACC is amazing. So even though the rule set I kind of sometimes don't agree 100%, I still think it's the toughest, probably most prestigious tournament to win ever. Have you been to watch?
I have, but it was a long time ago. It was the one in Nottingham.
Yeah,
very different.
I was there as well. Yeah. So I think like seeing how the guys prepare, and I think it's completely probably one of the toughest competitions you will see. You have to fight. Some fights like going to 40 minutes, you know, like it's really intense. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess the biggest competitor now is CJI, like you mentioned. And I guess a couple of the differences is they've got the alley. I'd be interested to get your take on that in a second. And obviously the rule set with the rounds and obviously, you know, sort of, I guess, no points and just pushing for sort of, I guess, being a bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the alley in that platform?
Yeah, I think it was really cool. You know, obviously when you put the best guys, you can't go wrong if you put them in like, man, in a room here, or, you know, like those guys. So, but I think it was very cool format and mat area, I would say, you know, like was way different, and we've seen some great fights. So again, it's all valid, you know, it's the first one. I hope it happens again next year. I just would prefer, I think it was valid that it happened in the same weekend this year. There was a point to prove, and I think it was good for the sport, you know. At first I was like, I wouldn't do it that way, you know. But both were amazing, and we witnessed, I was still like, I enjoyed watching both, you know. So and again, still ADCC had some new different guys that maybe were not the superstars that we used to see every year, but there was some amazing new guys that had chance to show their skills as well. And it was an amazing show as well. So I like both. I hope next year they're not in the same weekend, but the point was proven, and I think a lot of things will change in ADCC, which is positive, very positive for the sport, you know. And yeah, I love the CJI, the athletes that they got. There were some fights that were like so good. Probably we've seen the best fights of the year in CJI. So can't go wrong, can't complain.
I think it's just that alley as well, though. They can't get out. There's no stalling. There's nowhere to go, is there?
Yeah.
I think there was like so many fights, is like we can say here that was so good, so amazing.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, I think a really good like representation. I know, you know, it was a while ago, so both athletes will be very different. But Nicky Rod against Owen Livesey, obviously saw them on Polaris in the teams, and it just was off the stage every 2 minutes, wasn't it? Whereas obviously in the alley,
different.
Nowhere to go.
Yeah,
nowhere to go.
But yeah, I really like the fact that there's very little involvement from the referee as a result of not being able to go out of bounds.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
That's the show only for the athletes, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's hope we'll see you again next year.
Yeah, I think we probably will.
If he gets out of Colombia alive, mate.
He's in Tokyo now.
Yeah.
He was in Brazil, I think.
Oh, mate, he's everywhere, and he's
Yeah.
flying everywhere, and
It's so funny.
he's living his life, and
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I'm curious about with CGI is athlete selection. Because what I really like with ADCC is that you've obviously got the sort of invites and returning athletes, but you've also got the trials. So that makes it, accessible for literally anyone if they can get through those trials, which, it's a feat in itself. But with CGI currently, obviously Craig and his team are selecting the athletes.
I think it's going to continue like that from what I've been told.
Yeah, I think like it was easy. It was easy to select the athletes because he got like already a lot of guys that qualified for ADCC, so
much money, he can get who he wants, really, innit?
There were a few guys that you could question being there, like what Luke Rockhold was doing there with the best grapplers in the world, like he's amazing. I'm not taking anything from him. He's a great athlete, but he's not like as the 16.
Do you think that was just a profile thing though? Yeah,
probably like they had to fill out a few spots, and why not bring some guys that may bring more attention? And everyone wants to watch a high level UFC athlete in grappling. Yeah. So
I just didn't think he took it serious enough, did he? You know what I mean? He was messing around a little bit, and Pat like ruined him, didn't he? Have you seen Pat's doing the Blue Belt World?
Yeah, Pat Downey, yeah.
Pat Downey's doing the Blue Belt Worlds, mate. Because he's only just got his blue belt, I think, because obviously he's a high level wrestler, and he's going to go out there and just smash everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess you're seeing a little bit more of that actually now, aren't you? I know there was a post, I think Brandon, who's Brandon Reed, who we've had on the podcast a couple of times. So he was talking about him and Michael Pixley. Obviously the reaction from those guys competing at Worlds at Purple Belt.
Yeah, people were kicking right off, weren't they?
Yeah. And I guess this is like what you tend to see now. You've got the no-gi grappling scene. You are seeing some of those athletes now transferring into straight jiu-jitsu comps and just wrecking people going in at sort of blues and purple belts.
That's not fair, guy. Michael Pixley in the purple belt division. The guy that smashed Meregali. Not fair.
I know, because obviously if you're coming into jiu-jitsu and you're a white belt technically, and you've got sort of an MMA or wrestling background or a judo black belt, most good coaches will put those people in at blue belt, and comps, if they're aware, will insist on them going in as a blue belt. But I don't know, beyond that, it's a funny one, isn't it?
Even that though, isn't it? It's blue belts are like, come on, like you get people that are doing it 2 years, and then you're coming up against someone who's grappled for 15 years. It's
not fair.
It's moving the body a certain way, isn't it? There's still, like Brandon, for example, he's done it since such a young age. He's going to be unbelievable, isn't he? You couldn't stand up with him. And then because he knows how to pin and hold, those skills are so transferable, aren't they?
Yeah. That's it. But I think like we'll see like in these big tournaments, you see more and more like the level. Before you would have like 2 guys like that in the 30 guys division, but now you will see like there will be like 15 kids like at blue belt or purple belt. There will be like majority of them are like almost like professional athletes, So I think this changing a lot as well.
I think the next generation of kids coming through, like my lad's 12, say, and there's all these kids now coming through that are going to just grow up with jiu-jitsu. Yeah. There's going to be loads of them as well. It's not just like that, before there's like the Rotolos and stuff that you think, they've started it from, but they're like really rare, from their age. You think now there's going to be these kids in like the next 10 years that are just going to be, they're going to grow up with it because jiu-jitsu is much more mainstream now. I never even heard of jiu-jitsu probably like 5 years ago.
Well, yeah, you see, like we said before, like a few years ago, a lot of people would know what jiu-jitsu is.
But my boy now has grown up with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So the more, like him and his friends, some of those kids, even just at their club, local club, savages. These kids, I'm like, if you said to him the other week, you start now, 10 years, you'll be that kid, you just got to get on the mats, mate, Yeah,
it's like, I think, it might have been Taylor, or it might have even been Alan talking about Taylor when he was saying that, Taylor just, he was just the one who was turning up and just stuck around.
Yeah, he said he wasn't the most talented. He said there was way more talented lads there, but Taylor Pearman just kept coming, getting on the mats.
Yeah, I remember him as a very young kid training. Yeah, he come because I know his coach very well. So yeah, I remember him as a yellow belt. Yeah, he was he was very good, always very good. Yeah.
I think they probably underplay it a bit, right?
Yeah, he was humble, said, I was never very talented, but he was always very good.
Was he? Yeah. He's very good. Taylor now, his guard is absolutely outrageous.
But we had Al on the podcast recently, actually.
Okay.
His episode's not out yet, but it's coming up. And he was talking about the evolution of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and almost kind of referred to it as mixed grappling arts now. Because you're seeing the introduction of, all this wrestling and there's just all these different types of things coming in, and now everything's kind of funneling into these professional comps now. And like we just talked about, you're then seeing the athletes going into jiu-jitsu comps to get a little bit of exposure. And like with MMA, I guess you're going to then see your more traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu stylists going, right, well, we need to probably wrestle a little bit more because we need to compete. And you might then see this continued evolution. Are you kind of seeing that a little bit with your own kind of studying and teaching?
I see it, yeah, for sure, definitely.
It kind of annoys me a little bit where people moan about pulling guard and doing this, because for me, that's real like jiu-jitsu.
I feel like a lot it's just for bants though, mate.
No, but you say that though, but people do, don't they? They get a real like problem with like pulling guard. But I kind of feel like that is jiu-jitsu. Like the whole wrestling stuff is obviously part of jiu-jitsu, but it's like this new thing of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think like depends a lot on like the style, the matchup, or obviously like no one likes to see two guys just headbutting each other, pushing each other.
Isn't it? It's just boring.
No one likes to see two guys like pulling double guard pull and not trying to go up and pass, not trying, just sitting back to ankle lock, to leg lock, or like 50-50, you know. No one likes to see that.
I like to engage in jiu-jitsu. That's what I feel. Even when you're rolling in the gym, like I want to do jiu-jitsu. I want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like you can fight for takedown for a minute, minute and a half, and like, but you're gonna have to work on the floor, you know, like the jiu-jitsu is on the floor. So obviously I had a good friend of mine. He's like a very good judo and jiu-jitsu black belt. He said judo is dying in jiu-jitsu because in competitive jiu-jitsu, because there's no point in wasting time and energy doing takedown if the fight's gonna go after, you're gonna have to pass the guard after. And so I kind of heard that and I was like, is he right or wrong? Is like, and then I kind of accepted this as a way of like, okay, it's just easy. You just gotta work guard pull and just work guard pass, you know. Obviously, for competition, this is important. But you know, you need to learn takedowns and you need to learn a bit of, at least teach a bit. But for competition, like I said, I think sometimes it's a waste of energy and time. You know, you have to decide on the floor, you're going to pull guard, or it's like someone's going to pull guard. So I think people should do whatever you want. If you want to be, the problem is you spend a lot of time training takedown and they shake hand and they pull guard. So you spend the whole week training a takedown or drilling a takedown. It's like, you won't have a chance to use it, you know? Yeah. But I think people complaining is like silly, you know, like do whatever you want to, do whatever you like, do whatever you're good at. Obviously you should be good at everything, to at least be well-rounded and know a bit of everything as much as you can. But like, do whatever you want. It's like, I don't like people complaining about just, guard pullers, or you have to just take down, or people like, oh, guard pullers are, you know, talking bad about them, you know. So I think do whatever you want, do whatever you like, be effective, you know. And if you get caught in something, I heard someone from a gym saying, oh, I lost because the guy put me in close guard. I was like, what are you talking about? So you don't know how to deal with close guard. So you don't know jiu-jitsu, you know. And the guy was a brown belt, my experienced brown belt. I was like, how come you're a brown belt and you're stuck in a close guard and you can't do much, and you blame the guy for getting you in close guard and that's why you're losing, you know? So you have to train close guard, maybe, you know, do a bit more, you know? So yeah, it's very, how do I say? I think it's opinion. And I think like whatever you do well and win, be effective, you know?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, sounds good, but I'm still going to tease you out pulling guard.
Not pulling or pulling?
Yeah, pulling guard.
Pulling guard, same. Nice. Same.
Yeah, it's good fun. And obviously some more big news that came out recently was about the UFC's involvement with grappling and their plans.
That's great.
Obviously with the almost like an Ultimate Fighter type show, I think, where they've got a house and, you know, obviously Mikey's in there and there's rumors about some other athletes being in there as well, and who they might be. I wonder, like, as you see this progression of professional grappling, see the UFC involvement, now you've got like a reality TV show around it. You're going to see like more and more of, I guess, shit talking and that type of thing. So I wondered what your thoughts were in regard to, like, I guess maybe the slight loss of tradition and respect as we move more into sport-based grappling.
Yeah, I don't like it, to be honest. Like, like trash talking and disrespecting, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's part of our sport, like part traditional, like, but I think this is due to going more towards like grappling, MMA, no-gi. I think that makes it a bit like easier for going to this route. Because you don't see much the gi guys like trash talking and talking. And I think like being closer to a UFC, but gonna have a house but I don't think I don't think this will be the path. I'm sure there will be athletes that will always do that. They will always like use this as a way of expose themselves and being out there and using a bit of disrespecting athletes or opponents or trash talking. I think that there'll be guys that will always use that and think this is the way. And I agree. Sometimes it's good to sell. They sell better, but there are ways to sell. Like there are some guys that can sell the match, promote well without disrespecting each other. I prefer that way. There's a guy, I don't know if you heard, Peter Frank. He's a Brazilian guy. He does a lot of flying armbars. So he promotes the fight in a very cool way, and I think it's more respectful. He's a bit older. He's a master athlete. So, and I prefer more that way, more cool, more chilled, But I don't think it will because of that, we will see more the disrespect growing, because at the end of the day, this guy's going to compete in UFC, Fight Pass, and these events, but they're still going to compete in HCC. They still have friends that train together, people, and they're still going to train together, later or before. It's like, I don't think this will go into that direction. Hopefully not.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because a lot of people's opinion is that if you ever want to make jiu-jitsu or grappling like a mainstream spectator sport, you almost need those characters and
just need a drama, don't they?
Yeah,
drama.
I think these guys will always attract like attention, bring attention. Like if you talk a bit and disrespect, but I don't think this is what will bring attention to us. I don't agree with that, and I hope it's not the case.
Yeah, and I guess there's different sports for a reason, right? So you see different behaviors, different things in different sports. So yeah, I think if jiu-jitsu can keep a level of respect, and become a mainstream
I don't think
sport,
it will, though. To be honest, yeah, it's already started, isn't it? I think especially with the no-gi guys, I think the gi will stay quite respectful. But I think the no-gi stuff in America, I don't think it will be. I think once UFC get hold of it, and you get Mikey and someone like Owen Jones getting in a house living together, I think it's going to be fireworks, to be honest with you. So it'll be, I just think they'll just, they'll dramatize it and they'll create these beefs and they'll create these problems. And, I think a lot of these lads as well, they're young and they're a bit business savvy as well. They know if they create some issues, they get more views,
more
they
attention,
get more
fights,
attention, more money.
More money, more...
I get it. But I completely understand what you mean, because I'd be the same. I think a lot of the time, I think Owen Livesey talked about it with Nicky Rod. He said like he was like talking loads of shit to him, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And before that Polaris stuff, like messaging him loads and loads of stuff. And then he seen him in an elevator and he was like, "Oh, you right, bro?" Like completely normal.
Why?
That's what he said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, they just, I think a lot of them just do it just for the hype,
Yeah.
It just, look what Craig's doing. Craig's shit talking everyone and everything he can, no matter who it is, whatever,
Yeah, I bet they like Pena and Gordon, they change private message between them, and like they and then after the show they are like hanging out together. I don't know how close or how
I don't know
what it is, but same. They have
same thing,
they are great
it's like
rivals. They sold their fight very well, and they still like see pictures of them hanging out in the same party later. So I think
the only ones I genuinely don't like each other is the B team split. Gordon and Ben Nicky and all them lot. They do genuinely hate each other, but other than them, I think a lot of the other stuff is just just for show,
just for promotion.
Just for promotion.
I hope so. You see, the guy from Atos that fought Wagner Rocha, that he pushed him and Callum.
Oh yeah.
Pushed him in the stage and disrespect him and like.
Oh, I'd seen that. Yeah, and didn't he Wagner absolutely blew him away? Did you see that?
Yeah, that was in a pit, wasn't it? They were fighting.
Yeah. That was recently, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he Yeah, he just mauled him, didn't he? Just mauled him.
It was bad. I don't think he's going to ever do that again. He respects someone. He learned a lesson, I hope.
You got to know the person you're disrespecting as well.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like,
it's true.
You're going to do the Wagner, you're going to get...
But he's young and strong, you know. I thought like, I'll take this old man easy.
Yeah, good luck.
He obviously didn't watch ADCC recently, did he?
Exactly, yeah, probably not.
No, that was really bad. That was really bad from him, wasn't it?
Yeah. But no, it's exciting times, I think, though. I think it is really interesting. And we always talk about, I always say this, and you'll be the same, because I've been in it for so long, it's always kind of felt quite popular, but I don't know, I think it is becoming actually a little bit popular. So I think it's,
yeah,
I think it's good.
It's definitely going to be mainstream eventually, whether it takes 10 or 15 years from now or 5 years. You know, I think it will eventually. Again, the kids coming through, they're the ones, aren't they? You know, they'll grow up with it and it's normal then, and their friends will do it. And
you know, there's a show in Brazil, BJJ Stars. You know, it's quite famous. And they done like maybe 2 years ago. Similar, like they had the house, the two teams, the gi competitions. And they would do no-gi as well. And then they would fight, you know. And I think the fact, like you mentioned, with the house might have a bit of tension because they are in the house, they are together every day and will be in front of the cameras. But I think apart from that, will be...
Yeah, and I know with like the UFC as well, we had like I think John Davis, who's he's a power slap competitor, and he was saying there was a scene where he was like crying and stuff, and he said like, literally there was like just a split second where he got a bit emotional, and the UFC just jumped on it with their production. So you just know that they're master manipulators with what they show you as well. So
they know exactly what they're doing, don't they? You know what I mean? All those sorts of shows, they cut it up and they can make it look, well, we know you can make anything look a certain way, can't you? You know?
Yeah, no, we'll see. It'll be good. And Marco, you've obviously been around for such a long time. We're talking about all these youngsters coming up, but we always like to hear kind of from, I guess, the early days, you know, from some of the OGs that we speak to. And I was just curious to see where your jiu-jitsu origins were, like where your journey started, and tell us about that.
Right. I started, first I watched the first UFC, you know, and close to my house, there was a gym. And a few of my friends joined, not long, like they've been training for maybe a month or two. And it was like maybe 10-minute walk from my house. And then I was like, oh, I'll try this. They were like, oh, let's come and try. So yeah, I went there and tried, and I didn't like much, to be honest, in the start. You know, the gym had us, we used to do the class with the adults. So it would be like, we would learn, but not much. You know how, even like how Jiu-Jitsu developed, the teaching improved and developed so much. And before they would show us like Americana from mount and like an armbar from guard and like, you know, a takedown, you know, something very random things, you know, like, and then you learn like these submissions or these moves, and, you know, you're a bit like, so it was really in the start, I never liked. And I started in a gym where Murilo Bustamante, you probably heard about. And at the time he was already in UFC. He was starting to like get into UFC, and he wasn't there much teaching. So, and I didn't like much, and then I just stopped training for a bit. And then one of my sister's friend that used to work with her in the same road I live, he was like, man, you're wasting your time. Come and train in my gym. There's a lot of kids in your age there. Come. I was like 14, 15. He's like, come and train there. You're going to like. There's a lot of teenagers your age you're going to like. And I was like, I don't like this jiu-jitsu. I didn't like much. And all my friends had quit, you know, so. And then I was like, I'll try again because, you know, it's just close to my house. It's easy. So I started I enjoyed the place, the gym. And then from then, never stopped.
Yeah, nice. And had you played any other sports before you started jiu-jitsu?
I did. I used to play football a lot since I was young, you know, because football in Brazil obviously is very popular. And I played tennis for a bit.
Boring sport.
Yeah. I even competed a few times, like maybe 3 tournaments. I never did well, you know. But I really liked it for a few years, maybe 2-3 years. I think I enjoyed. And I used to play just in front of my house. So I did for maybe a few years. But I always played football, and then till I started jiu-jitsu. And I stopped, I quit football because I would get injured playing football, but not get injured in jiu-jitsu. And if I'd stay like a week without training jiu-jitsu because of football, I'd go mad. And I was like, you know what, I need to stop this. Till I broke my hand playing football once, and I was like, that's it, it's the end. So I quit football for like few months ago. And yeah, I just tennis and a bit of football, like just not like serious, but like every day basically. Yeah.
And what was the training volume like back then? Were you training every day, or was it just a couple of times a week?
Jiu-jitsu. Yeah. When I started, I would go maybe 2-3 times a week, you know, probably no more than that. And yeah, in the start, till I was maybe blue belt, I got the kids belt. We didn't have gray belt before. It was yellow, orange, and green. And then when I got my blue belt, I started enjoying and becoming a bit more serious. I competed as a yellow belt, and then I got my blue belt, and then I was a bit more serious. I was a bit older, and I was like enjoying. Then I started training like probably every day. I had friends that, you know, like good friends that train and compete a lot. We traveled Brazil to compete. So since then, since I was like 16, I started training more serious.
And where in Brazil were you based?
Rio de Janeiro.
Okay.
Yeah.
There must be quite a scene then, I guess.
Yeah. It was like there's two very famous and like traditional tournaments like in Tijuca, where the Worlds and the Brazilian national were, and there's another one, Yacht Club Jardim Guanabara, where it's like all the biggest tournaments were held. So yeah, we'd see like the HCC trials were there, you know, so there's like Ricardo Arona, all these guys fighting years ago back then. So good memories. But yeah, in Rio.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Awesome. And sort of when you were doing jiu-jitsu back then in Rio, like obviously the UFC was kicking off and you had ACC and everything else. I mean, what was the kind of aspiration as like a young jiu-jitsu practitioner at that point? Was it to like win worlds? Was it to open your own school? Like what were you thinking at the time?
Oh yeah, I always competed, you know. I never took competition seriously till purple belt maybe, you know. But when I was a blue belt, I was already saying I wanted to have my own gym and teach jiu-jitsu. I don't know why, to be honest. But I always said, I want to have my own gym and teach. I remember I was a blue belt and I didn't have much experience. And there's a club in front of my house that is like where I used to play tennis. And it's a big club where, you know, there's all sorts of sports. And there's never had jiu-jitsu there. And one day, one guy that he was a world champion, black belt world champion. He started teaching in this club that's just across my house, just across the road. And obviously the class was very quiet. There was like 2-3 people, and I had my best friend, and I brought him with my gi, and I walked in. I still remember, and I walked in with him, and I told the guy's like, "Oh, you guys joining the class?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just gonna teach him here on the sides, you know." And the guy's like, he was very cool, and I know him. I visited his gym like the last time I was in Brazil.
Yeah, okay.
I told him, I was like, he didn't remember, obviously, like. And he kind of was very, very friendly. He tried to convince me. He's like, "No, you guys should do the class." He's like, no, I just want to teach him on the side. We don't want to do the class. And he allowed me to stay, you know, like, and teach my class to my friend. You know, I remember I was teaching him some armbar, probably like wrong armbars, you know, like. But anyway, I remember it was like, and I was like, I thought I enjoyed teaching, you know. So I was like, I'm going to have my own gym, and people would laugh at me and like, "You crazy, you're never going to have a gym and stuff." I was like, maybe, you know. So yeah, it was always my biggest aspiration was have a gym and teach more than compete at some point, you know. But then obviously at purple belt, I started competing more. I started training more serious, and I did a few comps. Never got like big results, like, but I got to fight like some great guys, you know. And yeah, since then I was like, okay, this I want to take serious and, you know, do it and have my own gym, but also compete and see how far I can go.
How hard was that, like, financially? I speak to a lot of people, like, and they're all about, they concentrate on jiu-jitsu and they want to do this. Yeah. And I'm thinking, how do you afford to do that?
Look, it's like, nowadays, I think there's even like, as a purple belt, if you're a high level purple belt competitor, you can make money through jiu-jitsu, you know, like, because, for example, nowadays they are brown, black belts, but I had people in my gym that works for me, teach and help me, assistant, purple belt, having a good salary through jiu-jitsu, just assisting classes every day, many classes, you know. But this was never possible back then when I was a purple belt, 2006, 2005, you know. So I'm glad my father was able to support me, and against my mom's will, like, she never liked it, she never wanted. Yeah, she wasn't very convinced, you know. She was like, no, you need to be a lawyer, a doctor, you know. And my father, like, obviously maybe would prefer me being a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, but he also supported me, and he like would pay for my competitions, pay for me to train and travel, and, you know, and not work, and being able to train. I would train like twice a day, and, you know, so yeah, it was able because of my father only. Yeah, I have to say it.
Yeah, that's pretty lucky as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And when did you get your black belt?
2008.
Okay, and were you still in Brazil at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, and then what did it mean to you at the time getting your black belt?
I wasn't expecting, to be honest. I didn't think I was ready, and it was funny. I was like, wow, I was not expecting. And then it was funny. There was a guy in the gym. He was a very good purple belt competitor. And he told me, he's like, Canha, don't worry, man. It's going to take you 2 years before you get there. To become like competitive as a black belt. I was like, what are you talking about? You're a purple belt. You've never been a black belt before. But this guy was so funny. I was like shocked, you know, like I didn't expect. But I think when you're not expecting, it's also good, because I expected I was going to get my purple belt and my brown belt in the days, and I didn't get. And I went to the gym, especially as my brown belt, was like, yeah, you know, I've been doing great against all the guys, you know, I'm going to get my brown belt. And I didn't get it. So when I got my black belt, it was cool because I didn't expect it. And I competed like 1 week after, you know. And I didn't compete at all as a brown belt. I was finishing my degrees in university. So it was a shock as well, compete as a black belt straight away. Not long, like maybe 10 days, a week, 2 weeks before. So yeah, it was great, but it was a big shock for sure.
Yeah, I bet. What were you studying at university?
I finished advertisement. I started with business. We call like administration in Brazil. Because my parents told me, if you need to have a degree. Because in Brazil, it's really difficult if you don't have a degree to have a job. You know, you get like, if you don't have a degree, university, you might not have the same chance. I think things change nowadays, but back then, you know, like you need a degree. And I knew I was never going to use it or need it for anything.
That's hard to motivate yourself to do it then, isn't it?
Well, I guess there's a trade-off though, right? We'll pay for your jiu-jitsu, but you're getting that degree.
Yeah. So I did a year of business, but I failed most of it, you know. And at 6 months, I told Dad, this is not going to work. And he said, no, you have to do it, because he runs business, had a lot of shops, and, you know, and my brother and my sister worked with him. But, you know, like sometimes I seen them, I was like, I don't want to do that. No, it's not me, definitely not for me. So I think it was good, because sometimes you see like, oh, I don't want to do that. You know, like I don't know what I want to do, but I definitely don't want to do that. So it was good for me in that sense to see what I didn't want to do it. But yeah, I changed. My father said, you have to find then something you want, because you need a degree. I don't care what it's going to be. And I think I found advertisement because it was cool. It was not hard as medicine or law school and stuff, just because I wanted a degree. But I enjoyed it, to be honest. I learned a few things. Obviously. But then I realized I'd done like an internship in an agency where my teacher used to run. But I was like, I hate it. I was like, no, I don't want it as well. It's like, it's cool, but I don't want it, you know. And then I was like, yeah, I just wanted to get it done. So I kind of got it done just to show them, okay, this is my degree now. I can go. And it was right. It was right. Great timing, because I had the chance to do it was in 2009 when I had the chance to do the camp with Leo Vieira for ADCC. And it was probably one of the not the best, but one of the best experience I had, you know, participating in his camp. That was my idol, someone that I was like, wow. And, you know, it was a great experience in learning and being there. And then I was like, wow, I'm going to watch ADCC live. You know, we're going to go. I'm going to be there. We're there like Matt side with him. So it was great. It was good. I was like, okay, I got my degree. I deserve this experience. Because I told my mom told me, okay, now you deserve, you can, as a degree, like you finish your studies, you can go to compete and travel and go to Europe, and, you know. So that was my first time coming to UK, and it was like great time.
Yeah. What was your first impression of the UK?
I didn't like it.
Did you not? Cold?
Yeah. Because like this is, you know, where in Rio, it's never cold. You know, even in the winter, it's like 20 degrees and we're in the beach, 15, 18 degrees, sunny, and we're in the beach in the winter, you know. So I was like, I always thought like, I'm not going to like London, because they told me, oh, it's gray skies and it's like dark 4 p.m. So the first night I arrived and it was cold, you know, like, and we went to grab something to eat. And I stayed at the gym. I was gonna stay at the gym for a week till I go to Sweden, and then, you know, after that I had other plans. So I stayed there, and the next day we had training in the morning. So straight away I was like, it's okay, we're training, you know. And then I loved it. After the second day I was loving it already, you know, because it was obviously very different than what I was used to in Brazil. You know, we would train in the morning, go home, have lunch, go and hang out in the beach in the sun, you know, go back, eat, have a snack, and go back training again, you know, and you hang out with your friends, you know, that are in the same vibe, same idea, same goals, you know, a big group of friends. And then come here, you know, like where I didn't have my friends. I just had the person I met that invited me, Luis, you know. And I got to meet all the people that were living and staying at the gym. So it's like, well, it's the dream, you know? So yeah, straight away, I loved it. It changed my understanding or my view of life. You get to go through to challenge, to, you know, like in uncomfortable situations, you know? And it was never uncomfortable because it was related to Jiu-Jitsu and I was on the mat every day. So it's what I always dreamed of. So I end up learning a lot about because of that.
Yeah, man. London to Rio, that's such a contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I visited Rio a few years back.
Okay.
And it was during the winter months. And I was with a friend who was from Brazil. We had family over in Niterói, across the bridge.
Close to here, yeah.
And I can remember being on a beach, and it was just a lovely day, and the beach was empty.
Yeah.
Empty?
Yeah, it was like, 'cause it was quite a quiet. It's not quite real. It's across this big bridge. It's like a really long bridge, right? It's like it's like 10 kilometers
10,
or something.
13 kilometers.
Yeah,
On the bridge?
Yeah. So we were over there. So it was quite a quiet area, but it was like a stunning day. And you go to like Copacabana and it's heaving like all year round. So.
Niterói is beautiful. There's some of the most beautiful beaches in the state of Rio are there.
Yeah, it was a nice place. And when you arrived in London, you said you were at the gym. Which gym did you arrive at?
Fight Factory, London Fight Factory.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And though you were visiting at that point, you said you're on your way to Sweden. Did you? Yeah,
it was a funny story. I was in Rio. And the owner of Fight Factory, Luis, came to spend a week there at Fightzone training in my gym in Rio. And we got to know each other, we trained. And then I think, I don't know if I posted something. It wasn't Facebook at the time. It was similar to Facebook, but it was called Orkut.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a social media that it was very popular in Brazil. I don't know. I don't even think it was popular.
I've never heard of it.
So he saw I posted something. I was gonna go to Europe to ADCC and to compete. There was famous tournament in Sweden that we used to go, guys from Czech mat used to attend. It was the Scandinavian Open. So I posted and he's like, oh, you're going to be in Europe, come and spend a few days in London. And I was like, yeah, I might have a few days that I don't have plans. I can come and spend a few days in London. So he invited me, and then I came to London after the ADCC in Spain. And yeah, I stayed for a week, and then we went to Sweden, and I was going back to Brazil. I didn't have any plans to stay, and I had to go back to Brazil. It was like October, I think. And then he was there. He's like, why don't you come? What are your plans? I was like, I don't have any plans. I just got my degree. I'm kind of, I go back to Brazil in a few days, and that's it. He's like, why don't you stay here and teach maybe a few classes with me, and you can stay at the gym, and you've seen how it is. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm cool with that. Instead of going back to Rio, and doing the same things I was doing,
It sounds really nice, by the way. I quite like your lifestyle, Rio, mate.
yeah. But I needed a change.
Yeah, I imagine if you do it for so long, it isn't that good.
I needed a change, so it was perfect timing and perfect everything. It was great. So yeah, it was great opportunity I had.
Yeah,
and I thank him a lot for that. Always thank him when I see he knows that.
Yeah, good. And then how did you end up opening your own academy?
Well, I always had the dream of opening the academy, and then in 2012, but I was never sure. I never thought I was ready, And my wife, she's my angel, man. She's like, no, you're ready. You have to, you need to start, it's time. And I was like, no, I'm not ready. I need a bit more experience, And she's like, no, you have to. And then I had a student of the gym that he lived like, he was a blue belt at the time, and he'd live like maybe 5 minutes, maybe a bit less than 10 minutes away from my house. But my house was his way to Fight Factory. And he used to pick me up, and he would drive me to the gym. And at this point, I came back. I stayed and I moved. I met my wife now, and then I was living with her. And so I wasn't living at the gym anymore at the mats. So he would come past my house, drive me, and then we would talk, like every day. And I was like, man, you see how Jiu-Jitsu is growing. I want to open my gym one day. And he's like, yeah, I want to open a gym. I'll be your partner. Let's do it. I was like, yeah, but it's not that easy. We need time, and I don't think I'm ready. He's like, no, let's do it. We're gonna do this. That's the way. We're gonna have this number of students at this point and this. I was like, this guy's crazy. But yeah, and then we were ready. We always, like, for months we would drive back and talk about it, of the chance, of the opportunity, on how we would do it, and yeah, to the point where we started looking for a place. We found a building. In not the place where we are today, in a building in Edgware Road. I don't know if you guys are familiar to London.
Yeah, I think when I came up, I think you were in Bethnal Green, around that way.
Yeah. Completely different area, so, but the place was huge and it was very expensive, but we were like, let's do it. And I'm glad it never worked. Not because of us, because I think the owner, the landlord, was worried we were not going to be able to afford it and keep paying the rent. And he kind of told us, I won't rent for you guys. I'm going to rent for someone else. And I don't know if that was why he decided not to rent to us. And then we found the place where we were. So when you came to visit?
I think it would have been around 2015.
2015, yeah. So we probably had just the first floor.
Yeah, I think
the
so.
Building we were.
Yeah, it was quite black and red, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So 2015, we had done a bit of refurbishment, but we didn't have the second floor yet. So it was just like a small first floor, the place we found, and then we were able to open the door on the 22nd of October 2012.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like for a while thinking, and to the point where we got it, and then we got the place. It was like, compared to nowadays, it was very cheap, you know, easy,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, lucky we found that place. And I think the where you are makes a huge difference as well, you know, like the location obviously is very important for sure.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Like I said, when I came up, I had a friend who was down here studying dentistry, who was from that way, and I think he trained with you guys back in London.
Okay.
What was his name? Hassan Abbas, I think his name was.
No way, Hassan.
Yeah.
Where is he?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to him for a long time.
Yeah, I think he's a brown belt now.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah. Because him and his brother trained with me. His brother used to train with me since I arrived in London in 2009. I met him in Brazil. 2008.
Okay.
And he was training at Fight Factory, and Hassan trained with me for years. Yeah, and then I'm not sure where he is at the moment.
No, well, he was down here studying dentistry.
Yeah.
I think he might have been a white belt back then.
Yeah,
white or blue
yeah.
belt, maybe a white belt. And then he kind of went back home to London, and I came up to train with you guys. I think once, and
Wow.
I stayed in touch via Facebook, but then lost touch with him. I don't know where he is now.
Okay.
I haven't spoken to him for many years.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, but no, it was you know, it was a great academy, and I can remember that the training was tough. The guys were like good and
Good standard.
Yeah, and it's funny because I still come to London a little bit, and I train at with Junyao in
Okay.
the Moorgate.
Yeah.
And I've not been up for a little while, but again, the training's always tough. And I don't know if it's because down here we're a bit more chilled and it wasn't as much of a competitive scene. But it always feels whenever I visit London.
Maybe it's because you're a visitor, though, mate.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's always wise. Well.
But visitors are always welcome at Fightzone. You know, like I always say, like, guys, so many people that come to visit us that are now part of our gym or our team because they felt welcome.
Yeah.
You know, like, and this is something that I welcome everyone, even like people come with patch or, you know, it doesn't matter, you know. And a lot of people that came from different teams now, they are my students because they felt welcome, and we always open the door. But the trainings will always be hard, but everyone will be welcome.
Yeah, and then don't get me wrong, the training wasn't like I wasn't getting like filled in. You know, it wasn't like that sort of tough training. The guys were just good. Like the standard of the belts were really solid.
Good.
So everybody I trained with was good. And I can remember thinking I was considering moving to London at that point. And I think if I'd come up, I definitely would have come up and then made that my home as well, because it was good.
Okay, good to hear.
but obviously you made a success of it. Obviously you had some doubts in the very beginning, but made a success of it. I mean, as a school owner and a coach, like what are your proudest moments thinking back in the last sort of 10, 15 years that you've been doing it?
Oh, I think it's tough. There's so many things, you know, like so many memories, so many things that we are proud that we achieved there, you know. But I think like is giving a safe roof for people to train. Before I had like my focus, obviously when I started, I was younger, you know, and like I was competing a lot as well myself, and come from my gym, Fightzone. It's like one of the most competitive gyms that had like so many world champions coming from. So I had to like had that mentality like since the beginning, but always like wanting to make it friendly and welcoming, but like very competitive. But I think like now, like I realized that was easy. It's more down to the athletes, to the guys that really want to be good and, you know, like become like professional and train and compete and do jiu-jitsu for their life. This was good because it's more down. I heard Jose Aldo, coach, say that it's not me, it's like down to them, it's more them. And I really now at that point I was like, obviously I didn't make much sense, but now I see it. It's easy. It's just the talent and how much they want, and if they're good, they will become good.
It's dedication to it, isn't it?
Exactly, you know. But like for me now is like create a safe environment where people can come and like get to know jiu-jitsu. Obviously it's like what I do, but like all the martial arts we have and we offer. And you know, have people like from all sorts of backgrounds together in the same roof, and, you know, like in a safe, friendly environment where they can like, you know, get to training and benefit from martial arts, you know, like all that things we said about the physical and the mental aspects that we know that help so much. And I think for me, this is more important because I see how this can impact someone that really needs, you know. And that person that comes with a good background, he's an athlete, strong, tough. They don't need, obviously they need guidance a bit, but they don't need help, you know. But you see like a lot of people that need help, you know, like need confidence, need like a bit of someone that cares about them and where they feel comfortable. And sometimes people come very shy and they don't look in the eye and look down, you know, and then after a few months of jiu-jitsu, they change. This is for me, is like now is more, it makes more impact for me. And I still want to compete and get my guys to the best level possible with them. And I'm always there. But this for me makes, is something that I realize is very important as well. And makes me very happy and proud. So having like people with disabilities training, they are part of like, they feel like they are the same, everyone there. People a bit older, like 70, 72 years old, training, doing jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, you know, like him. You know, it's so cool to see like a guy that is 72 years old sharing the same passion with someone that's 18, 16 sometimes in the same mat. And, you know, like this for me is like, I think like now is like something that I really enjoy seeing. So obviously there are so many like athletes that done great, you know, in competition, world, you know, Europeans, all these. But this is for them, you know, this is like, and it's down to them, their dedication and stuff. But the other part is like what our team, my team does to help people and make people better, healthier, more confident, and improve their life in general. I think this is my motivation. One of the biggest things for me.
Yeah, that's wicked, man. That's really cool.
And obviously like have a big gym, you know, like successful, you know, have a big team of staff, you know, like that. Without them, from the cleaners to the reception, to the manager, to me, to everyone, to the coaches, assistants, is like, it's very important to help me and help all the people that come, you know, and really have hope to find a place. And you know how sometimes can be intimidating join a martial arts gym when you don't have experience, when you never step foot in a martial arts gym, and you feel like people feel like they're gonna see me as weird, or you know, like see yourself different. You don't feel like you're part of it, and make people feel part of it is sometimes it's challenging, you know, because people are like not very open and they don't give a chance to open themselves, and they just think like, I don't know the experience or what they dealt with in their lives, you know. So, but this for me is the best nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. I think so, 100%. And as a coach, when you look at your students, I mean, what are the key attributes that you see in people that do well at jiu-jitsu, whether that's competitively or just kind of, you know, as a hobbyist? Dedication.
I have guys that are training 3 times a day, and they help me teach. They're like, I don't know how they do it physically, to be honest. Sometimes I tell like, today you're going home. It's like, no, I want to stay. No, go home and rest. I'll do the class, or like we do it here. It's fine, you know. And I think it's dedication. It shows like you have to study, you have to like drill, you have to rest, you know, like, and them understanding that, because they can drill 4 hours, they can do sparring 4 hours, but them understanding they need to rest and they need to get off the phones a bit, you know, the younger guys, especially like the guys that compete as an athlete, they are the youngest guys, you know, the hobbyists are a bit older, you know, so making them understand they need to sleep and rest and get off their phones can be a bit challenging sometimes, but I think it's their dedication for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can see like, obviously the attitude and how the attitude counts a lot, you know, like how much they want it as well, you know. And some guys are just good at fighting, you know what I mean? You know, like they're very good. They have a good coordination, a good mobility, and they pick things very quick, you know. So that makes it just easy, you know. But it's dedication for sure. The hours they put into on the mat and training, and obviously doing everything they have to do: rest, eat, train.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned about, you just mentioned then, I think, about studying. So you've obviously got your on the mat studying. Do you put much much weight into the off the mat studying? So like watching videos, like instructional, that type of thing?
Me, myself?
Yeah, or you and your students?
Yeah. I do it. Obviously, I like to watch. There's a few things I like to watch, things that I want to learn, that I want to improve so I can teach. Yeah, but like with the students, don't do much. We do like in the technique in the class, and then they always come like, look, I have a problem with this, we have a problem with that, and then we discuss, we talk, we repeat, we talk. At the end of the class, we always do it with some of the guys, and either hobbies or athletes, competitors, And yeah, I don't watch too much instructionals with them. Sometimes we can watch rounds of fights of people they're gonna compete with, or fight or their past footage of competition, but not really like studying together, not really much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned, I think earlier on in the conversation, about that you think that people should try different rule sets when competing.
Yeah.
How important do you think competing is, full stop, for people's progression in jiu-jitsu?
Very important. Very important. Even like, obviously, as a hobbyist, everyone wants to do well in training, perform better in the mat, No one likes losing, So I think it's hard if you say you should compete every now and then. It becomes really hard, because if you compete now and then, you're always gonna feel like I either do it and compete regularly or I don't. Mm-hmm. And that takes people away from competing, because they go to a competition. For example, you see like a guy go as a purple belt hobbyist and he fights Frank in the first round. So, like that can be, like depressing, like the guy say, why? The kid is training all day, just training, and I'm just here working in the office and I'm going to go there. But it doesn't matter. You should still do it, like even if it's sometimes. I know it makes a bit more difficult and a bit more challenging, in a sense where people feel like, why I'm going to do this once in a while if when I go, I get to fight these guys that are professionals, So, but it doesn't matter. And then it comes like, you can fight master, you can fight like some tournaments that are a bit like less challenging, But I think like it's important for your development. You have to. 100% every time you compete, you will come back better, winning or losing. And I think when you lose, you have something you become more like, you want to improve from that mistake. Either you got swept or you got submitted, or where you put your hand wrong or something, You want to improve from that. And that itself make you get better. Preparing for a competition will make you better. Like you start today and then, okay, I'm going to compete in 2 months. Obviously, you will step in the mat to compete, but these 2 months, when you step in there, you're already a better person, better athlete, better jiu-jitsu, understanding better your jiu-jitsu, your game, and jiu-jitsu in general. So just by the fact that you accept and you sign up for a competition, or you take a super fight, you will improve, because you will train and prepare leading up to it. And then the fight itself will be a different experience that will also make you grow and learn. And then after that, the outcome will also push you to get back and train. And I rarely see someone that competed and then quit jiu-jitsu. I don't remember. I don't see something that is interesting, but I lost yesterday. Okay, I don't compete anymore and I quit jiu-jitsu. No, they're going to go back, and they either going to use what they done in competition to bring more confidence to their game, to feel, wow, he works in competition, or this is great. Or they're going to lose by something or for a reason, and then they're going to try and improve from that. And I think this is like 3 different steps, 3 different experience you get: leading, the fight, the result, the outcome, and then what you do after, So I think these give you 3 different types of experience and improvement that you don't get in a class normal, like that daily just training to come and train and do whatever you're told. Just do your rounds and go home without having any feedback or, So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think having like just even Sam and Frank in the gym, and because they're like ultra competitors, you know, it's a different feeling when you roll with them because they are competitors, you know. And it's before the gym was very much like you had a couple of competitors, but it was very much like a hobbyist type of gym. So me personally, like with my jiu-jitsu, it'd be quite just, I don't know, like lazy at times, you know. It would just be like going through the motions a little bit, you know. If someone passed my guard, it was like, meh, you know, I'll recover it or whatever. Whereas now with Sam and Frank being there, they're like, don't let them pass your guard. Don't let them do this. Don't let them, you know, have a dominant position on you. One of the big things I've took away from them is like, you know, when we talk about like pulling guard and wrestling, one of the big things is them is like, I was getting real frustrated with when I was rolling with Frank because it always felt like he was always in a dominant position against me. So if I managed to, I don't know, escape, stand back up, he was better at wrestling than me. So he'd take me back down and then he'd be passing my guard again. So I'd be like in a really shitty cycle all the time. And then that's one thing they both massively helped me with is getting out of that, you know, negative cycle of just, you know, against other people when they're hobbyists, you know, I'll pull guard and I'll sweep them or whatever. But it's against someone better. Getting out of that cycle is really important. And
just like with time, with a couple of months of you changing that, understanding that changing mentality
100%.
will make you get better. Obviously, it takes a bit of time for you to see result, but you definitely improved just because of that.
Oh, 100%. Sure. Yeah. I feel like I've improved massively, like just through just my understanding of those situations, not letting accepting, you know, certain positions and not being lax in certain positions.
Yeah, for sure.
And the understanding of that.
I guess it kind of, as we're kind of talking, I'm thinking it feels like it's adding accountability by competing, you know, whether it's, you know, in the gym, in practice, or actually competing. But I think with anything in life, if you've got no accountability, then you're like, you know, just
how do you both feel about, again, it's not like hiding behind belts, but I always find as people go up the belt system, they compete less and less and less and less. And, you know, they are very good maybe in the gym or whatever, but do you ever get annoyed that sometimes like they compete, you know, regularly at like blue belt, say, and white belt, you know, that you got like a brown or a black belt saying you've got to compete as a blue belt or a white belt who's a similar age, and they're like, you've got to compete, but they're not competing themselves. But they're a similar age, even though they've been doing it longer, but they hide behind the belts slightly. They know they can smash those white and blue belts, you know, there's no question, but then they're not testing themselves against people that their own skill level and age. How do you feel about stuff like that?
Oh yeah, each case is a case, you know, like I obviously have my opinion of like people should compete, you know, but each person has like a reason for not to. Some people like are great training partners and they never competed before, you know. And you gotta respect, you know, I respect, but I also like, you can't talk to me about competition if you're not competing yourself, you know? So it's like, let's talk about something else, you know? So the guy must have gone through that to be able to say you should compete. Maybe if he's not competing because of injuries, because of not having time, and then obviously there are times that you go through that, you know, and everyone have to go through that. But I also respect people that don't like to compete. I know a lot of people that competed a few times, but then never wanted again. And I think it's a way of knowing yourself better as well, you know, like, because you go and compete and you're nervous and the adrenaline takes a lot from you and your performance, but then you start getting used to it and you like say, okay, I'm better than that. I can deal with my emotions, and you do how to control your emotions better. You learn about yourself. So I think that they miss a bit of that, but I respect people that don't want to compete, and you know, and I have great training partners that never compete and they are amazing. So, you know, but if you want to talk about competition, you should be competing, you know, you should have at least a bit of experience. And maybe if you're not competing at the moment for injuries or because of time, or, you know, it's okay, you know.
Yeah, I know something that Sam said to me a while back, it might have been to both of us, but he's quite keen to compete and stay current because he feels that in competition you'll get a flavour and a feel for kind of the latest techniques and styles and everything else that's working. So then if you're coaching competitors and you're not, even if you have competed, so you understand the importance of it and you understand the emotions and the psychology, you're going to be out of date when it comes to the actual current style of jiu-jitsu. So that was a really good point that you made.
Yeah, I think each coach each teacher is different, you know, have their experience and their strength and weakness and knowledge and wisdom, you know. But I think like in general, having competed will make you more well-rounded, will make you have better understanding of the game, you know. I remember at some point I wasn't competing, I was competing to get better for my students, you know, not thinking much about me, but obviously I wanted to get better as well and have better results. So, you know, like things connected, but I think competing gave me a better confidence to also do what I always wanted, have a strong competition team. So I had to be competing, you know. So yeah, but I think this is personal, and I think, you know, it's just a decision, you know. And sometimes people stay away from competition for a bit and then they go back after they miss it. You know, how many people retired and go back to it? You know, you take a few years out for some reasons, or life commitments, or family, or work, you know, injuries. And then people feel the need to get back on it, you know, and it's just time, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Marco, we'll wrap up in a second, and we'll give you an opportunity to kind of shout anybody out. Before we do, we've got some sort of quick fire questions that we want to ask. So this is a fairly new segment to our podcast that we're going to try out with you.
Okay, let's try.
All right. So, gi or no gi?
Gi. Why? No.
Go on. Yeah.
Are you going to do the why as well?
No, I mean, I like both, you know, like I just train more gi because I teach more gi. But like I recently got, like we call in Brazil, like when you pull your ear in Brazil, my coach said you have to train more no gi as well and do 50-50. Train 3 days gi, 3 days no gi, or 2 and 2, whatever. Because it's important for your development, for the jiu-jitsu development, for your students. And I have guys that chose to not do gi anymore, you know. But I prefer gi because it's what I've done for a year, for all my life, and I do more. And I have more experience in teaching, but I love both.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Sub only or points competition?
Sub only.
Okay. You've kind of answered this, but takedown or guard pull?
Guard pull.
Okay. Mount or back?
Back for sure.
Okay. Leg lock or strangle?
Strangle.
Okay. Drilling or rolling?
Rolling.
I don't know whether to ask this one. It's a little bit dodgy, but when you're rolling, sweat or pubic hair in the mouth?
None of them.
Strength or flexibility?
Flexibility.
Okay. And then your favorite guard?
Favorite guard? Well, I would say half guard, because it obviously involves a lot of the other kind of guards I like, kind of reverse de la Riva and shin to shin guard, X guard. So there's so many things. But in general, X guard, I love half guard, sorry.
Okay.
Half guard.
And then your favorite sweep?
Favorite sweep? Coyote Lucas Leite from half guard.
What was that?
Coyote Lucas Leite half guard. It's like when you get an underhook. Dogfight from Dogfight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just simple basic stuff. Ankle pick, foot pick from underhook.
Yeah, nice. And favorite submission?
Choke from the back for sure.
Yeah.
Rear naked choke.
And your favorite fighter to watch of all time?
All time? Oh, there's so many. I always love to watch my coach Rico Vieira. I don't know if you guys ever watched back then when he used to compete. And Leo Vieira and Marcelo Garcia were my guys that I kind of like to watch and inspired watching.
Yeah, nice. And you mentioned, we talked about sort of people competing and not competing. I feel like in a lot of gyms, there's someone who's really good that doesn't really compete that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
So who's the best kept secret in jiu-jitsu that you know of?
Well, this goes years back then, back to 98 probably. Alexander Street. He's a guy that in the gym, he would beat Terere in training. They were both blue belts. And he's a guy that in the gym, he would literally smash everyone. But he would compete and freeze in competition. You know, like couldn't perform at all, to the point he kind of never competed anymore, which was like everyone was shocked how good he was. And so, yeah, but it's like long years back then. Because it's a case where it's like, I never seen a case so like a guy that would, if he could performed the way he performed in training, he would be like, he would probably still be like, nowadays you'd hear him as a world champion and one of the best guys in history.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And your toughest competitive match?
Toughest competitive match? There's a few, you know, like I would say the toughest one for me was Polaris no-gi because it was 15 minutes. And I never done 15 minutes, was the longest match I ever did. In no-gi, which is a bit more physical against a stronger opponent. So I think it was the most challenging because of the timing and the physically and mentally exhausting, you know. 15-minute round, I used to do like 7, 8, 10. And like the 15 was, I remember I had a headache after. It was hard. Yeah.
I think how Penna felt with Gordon, about 40 minutes.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. Yeah.
You know, you look at it and you think, oh, Penna tapped out, but 40 minutes against Gordon would have been disgusting, wouldn't it? You know, 40 minutes.
I felt good, like push the pace for the 15 minutes. I think that's why as well. But I was well prepared for that and still felt like, wow, after it was like, I could feel that it was physically challenging for sure.
That was the last question, so we can continue talking about that for a second, because I wanted to ask about your training for that particular match, because we spoke to Victor Hugo and he said despite the sort of the length of the rounds, he will often just do short rounds because that's how he wants to finish the fight. Did you do 15-minute rounds in training?
Yeah.
You did?
I did a few, and I was always like, wow, this is going to be hard, but I was training with a guy from Brazil. He was sending me the program. And it was very interesting because it was the first time I started doing like, you know, like explosive drills, like short and explosive movement, speed drills. It was in 2017, I think. It was like a while ago, like 7 years ago. So I did a lot of weights, and I thought that the weight training would be like, you know, circuit training, you know. And he told me, no, you're completely wrong. So you do like these exercise, these sets. There was sets that would be like 4, 6, 8 reps. And then the other week I would do like 12, 14, 16, 18 reps, you know, with less weight. So it was completely different. But what I felt was the best was the speed drills. And I started doing 30 seconds, 15 minutes, 16-minute rounds, doing 30 seconds work and 30 seconds rest. And then it went to 45 seconds to 50 seconds work and 10 seconds rest.
I do a lot of this sort of stuff with my clients. I do it a lot.
Yeah, 50 seconds.
That's disgusting, by the way.
But I learned so much that I learned how to cut down. So every minute, okay, so it's 50 seconds. So now one round's done. Boom, one round's done. And then I became more confident, and I learned a lot about myself that if you put the work, you can improve your conditioning, you know. And the program had, the fight was on Saturday, and so he said, you don't train on Thursday, and on Friday night, you're going to do a 16-minute round. I was like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, so it's going to be 10 seconds work, 50 seconds rest for 16 minutes. And then I was like, okay. So I was like, you go there, and now after the weigh-in, you go and weigh in, and after the weigh-in, you're going to do the 16-minute round. I was like, okay. So I done the weigh-in. I came back to the gym, and I did the 16-minute round, and I was like, I wanted to fight Friday night. I was like, give me this guy now. I'm like we say in Brazil, I felt like I was flying, you know, like very sharp, very fast, very strong. And indeed, the day after, I was like feeling great. It was the best preparation I had. And yeah, so it was really good. And he still like, he does the conditioning training, the strength training for many well-known athletes, and he's an amazing guy. So yeah, it was really good for me to see how like it was very different than everything I have done before. And it was probably the best shape of my life for sure.
Yeah, cool, man. That went all right. It was
pretty good. Yeah, enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Mate, we'll wrap up in a second. Anything you want to say to close up with? Any shout-outs, thanks to people? Or do you want to sort of give a message to our audience at all?
Yeah, just thank my team, all the people that from Fightzone London, all of you guys, my team, the office team, you know, and everyone else. Like I said, from the cleaners to the reception, the staff, everyone is so important for me and to get where we are today, the gym. And obviously to progress, my sponsors, that the best support I could wish. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you guys. It was great to be with you guys here.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
Cheers.